Hello lovely friends, welcome back to another video. Of course we are standing here in my greenhouse. Where else? At this point it's definitely become a source of comfort for me to be in the greenhouse while chatting to you guys each week. If you see me run out of frame here at any point during our chat, it's because all around me are a whole bunch of different bugs and things that are swarming around. I had to politely remove a little jumping spider from my camera tripod. So lots of life all around me, and I don't typically mind that, but sometimes when there's wasps that just get a little bit too close, it irks me. So all that being said, I will try to stay focused and not scream too abruptly if one comes at me. And I have a bit of a bad habit of just starting to ramble on, so before I do that, I just want to say to any of the new viewers out there, new subscribers, hello, and thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction and tell you who I am in case this is my first video that you're seeing, or maybe you've just only seen a couple videos back. So I'm Emily and I live out here in the Midwest, and I got this property a few years ago now with the hope of getting really into gardening. I kind of have a long history of loving gardening from afar and have never really grown anything on a serious scale. I'm still not doing that, but I'm kind of dipping my toes into learning how to garden. So I am interested in growing veggies and flowers primarily, and herbs, which I'm kind of doing those things more or less. I don't know if I would call it successful, but I am definitely learning a lot, and I am hoping to take you along on that journey with me. And we just got ducks, which is really exciting. I'm definitely interested in expanding our little farm life here and getting some more farm animals in the future, which I've talked about before, but for now, this is an amazing starting point, and you can't see it. I'll show it to you in a little bit, but off to the right, we're actually starting to build our duck house. All that to say, I'm just very grateful to have you here with me, and honestly, my main goal of the channel is just to bring a little bit of peace, hopefully, into your day, and to bring a little bit of calm, and hopefully provide a little bit of a distraction, maybe if you're going through something stressful, or even if you're not. I just think any way that I can brighten your day or give you peace, that's what I'm all about. Okay, so now we're gonna dive into some updates, and I just wanna chat to you about the various things that I've got going on right now this spring. Starting off with an update on our adorable, sweet 4 baby ducklings. They are doing fantastically. I cannot believe how fast they are growing. It is actually crazy. I did not realize, I was not mentally prepared for how fast they were gonna grow. But they're doing so well, and they're becoming way more friendly for sure. They're very calm for the most part around us. They get a little skittish if, you come at them unannounced, if you will, if you don't kind of gently come up to them, but they are so sweet and they will let me pet them. They let my husband pet them. They actually follow us around in the yard when we do bring them out for short periods of time. They are starting to get some of their feathers in, which is so cute. And I think I read online that it takes around maybe 6 to 7 weeks for them to become fully feathered, and until then they need a heat controlled environment. So right now they still have their heat lamp and they're not living outside yet until they're fully grown and fully feathered. Now, off to the side here, we are starting to put together the duck house, and we bought our duck house from, I think it's called Carolina Coops, and I think it was their only duck model. So I will pop a link for it down below in the description if you are interested or just want to check it out. It's currently sitting on a pallet all wrapped up on our driveway right now. The goal is to put it together here soon, but first we have to prepare the ground. And of course, one of the biggest concerns and considerations for ground prep is predator prevention. Foxes, I think even raccoons can potentially harm them. So you want to be definitely mindful of that. But yeah, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to get their duck house ready for them, and we'll have a smooth transition for them outside. And all 4 of them have already been named. They're all female, and I wanted to choose cute names. Husband is not that crazy about the names that I chose. He's okay with 2 of them, but their names are going to be Marzipan, Meringue, Bonbon, and Buttercup, which I just think is so cute. The only question is I don't entirely know how I'm going to keep them separated and be able to tell them apart. I don't know if when they get older they have certain distinguishing characteristics or what. How do people normally keep their different ducks straight, especially when it's all the same color and type? You guys have suggestions, let me know. So yeah, we'll have to figure that out, but they are just sweethearts and I love them so much. Okay, so now let's chat about the 2 deep beds that I have in the critter fence that I mentioned last video that we're filling up with soil. So I mentioned we got our soil delivery, and it was basically a drop in the bucket of the amount of soil that we needed. We've emptied maybe about half the bags now, and it's barely, like it's maybe filled up about 10% of one singular bed, and we have 2 really deep ones. So we did order more, and that soil delivery actually should be coming any minute today. And I am really hoping that I can Rambo this around and fill them up with soil as fast as possible, because the season is starting to slip away, and I don't know, I never seem to get my stuff together in time. Another task that is on the top of my list is to get my dahlias potted up, and the dahlias have been a little bit tricky here. I did try them last year and I had quite a few problems. Where do I even begin? So I tried to pre-pot the dahlias up in some plastic pots, and at first I was battling slugs, so I went ahead and put some copper tape around the pots, which worked beautifully. But then when I went to transplant the dahlias from the pots into the soil, a lot of them had disintegrated. I don't know if that's because I overwatered or what happened. There's also like a lot of insects that have come up through the floor of the greenhouse and had made their little nests in there. So we had a lot of ants. So I don't know if they just damaged the tubers or what. And then the tubers that I direct planted into the soil, when it got warmer, got a lot of powdery mildew on them and they snapped in half. So I tried to do support bamboo stakes. Essentially, you can't see them, but the ones that I've got in the corner of my greenhouse, and it helped a little bit with the snapping, but the powdery mildew was still a really big problem. So I still have yet to figure out how dahlias, I guess, want to be treated. I do need to pot them up soon. I just got 2 deliveries of tubers, one from, I think it's called Stone Hollow Farmstead, and then another from Old House Gardens that I mentioned in my last video where I got my daffodil bulbs. I've also just purchased a few from our local garden center, and then I have my ones from last year that I attempted to put in a box of pine shavings and keep dry over the season, which I do not know if those made it at all. I'm a little bit scared to open up the box, so we will see. Hopefully we'll get to that next video together. I'm really hoping that I have a better season this year, because I love dahlias. They're one of my absolute favorite must-have flowers, and I know they're supposed to be really prolific, or many at least, for cutting and for flower arranging. So they're top on the list to get figured out, but there is a learning curve for me. so far. So any tips that you guys have, again, I'm all ears, would love to hear them. I was just at the garden center yesterday and I was so happy to see that they actually sold cosmos. I've never seen that there before. So I was really happy, and as you guys know, I'm trying to grow those from seed right now, and I'm having a decent amount of success. But I saw these and they were the seashells mix, and I had to grab some. I also picked up one herb, and you can see it here. It is basil. Okay, so that spider is back. It's literally crawling and making its way up to my camera. So he is very determined either to be in the video or, I don't know, he loves my camera. Okay, not pictured Emily fighting with a jumping spider for a whole minute trying to get him off of the camera again. Back to what I was saying, I did pick up one herb from the garden center, and that is basil. I do have basil already in my house near a window in the kitchen, and I've been growing that for about a year pretty successfully. It's slow yielding for sure, but it has lived, so I consider that a success. And I just wanted to have some basil to grow here in the greenhouse as well. So I picked that up, and I also did pick up one red dahlia. For the cosmos that I picked up and then the dahlia, I think I might put them in the pots on my deck. I did have roses there, but unfortunately they didn't survive the winter, so I probably should have covered them and protected them more. That's on me. But it was a learning experience and they did not survive, sadly. And just to show you guys, here are some of the cosmos seashell plants that I got. Okay, so now let's talk about roses. You guys might remember from many videos back, maybe even my first video, I talked about loving roses and planting a ton of roses here on the property, and then struggling with some sort of rose infection that I thought was rose rosette. I will be honest, I'm still not entirely sure what really happened. I did do a bit of research after that video and think that it also could be, I think they're called thrips. And if I'm not mistaken, this particular type I found, I think are called chili trips, thrips. But I'm not 100% sure which of the two it is. All I know is that it's devastating to the roses, and many have not survived it, or I shouldn't say they haven't survived it, they're alive, but they go on to look extremely deformed. Some of them do turn that reddish color. They get the curled leaves and they get like really deformed blossoms. They look really creepy and gross. Some of them get like the thick waxy stems. They look really strange. So I've had at least 10 die to that, or I guess just turn weird from that. And I noticed that it was mostly happening in the front yard, in the landscaping area, and the ones that get planted back here, it hasn't really happened to. So I don't know if that's a clue or hint for anyone to help me understand what's going on, but I did actually stop planting roses in the front. The roses that are back here were doing okay. Like I said, they hadn't gotten that strange deformity, with the exception of maybe one that I saw that happened to. However, now the biggest battle is keeping my dogs and the deer away from them. The ones in the front, I have a non-toxic, kind of all-natural spray that I use. Just has some nasty ingredients that deter the deer, like rotten eggs and spicy things and geranium oil. And it works decently well, but it's obviously, not ideal to spray them in general, and it does kind of burn their leaves a little bit. It is what it is for the front roses, but for the back roses, to get them away from the deer and the dogs, because for some reason my dogs love to eat rose bushes, and it's just been so tragic. They just decimate them. I don't know what it is. So because of that, I decided that I was going to dig up the ones that I had planted in the backyard here and move them into the critter fence, which is quite the task, but this time of year is the right time to do it. It's raining, so they're getting a lot of moisture and it's not super dry. So I did start that last week, and I moved about 9 successfully into the back. I don't know if they're going to survive the move. It's really just a risk that I have to take at this point in order for them to do anything and potentially thrive at all. The goal is to move them to the back, and as much as I love roses, I absolutely love buying David Austin's. I've put myself on a buying ban for roses for at least the next, honestly, year, to see if I can get these to do well and to get them to stop having these weird deformities, because it's just so wasteful. I end up having to discard the plant, and they're not cheap. So hopefully I can get these to start thriving and doing well, and not to mention the whole Japanese beetle ordeal, which I never ended up treating the ground. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, in a previous video I mentioned buying, what is it, I think it's milky spore to put on the grass to prevent them, well, I shouldn't say prevent because they're kind of impossible to prevent, but to help lessen the population. But of course, shocker, I never got to it. So it looks like this year's method is just going to be going around and individually plucking them from the plants, which works okay. And if you guys have Japanese beetles, you'll know what I'm talking about. They are hugely annoying for roses. They love to eat the leaves, they love to eat the flowers, and they suck. They suck so bad. So yeah, we'll see. Once they grow a little bit more and I see that they've survived the move, I'll take you back there and show you them. Right now there's just not much to look at because it's sort of new into the season and it getting warmer, so they're just starting to get their leaves back and there's no buds or flowers or anything like that. The thing that I'm the most excited about right now that's going on is my alliums are blooming. This is the first year that I've had them. I just planted the bulbs last, I think around November or so, and they've done really well. I think a couple of them didn't survive because they got dug up or washed away, but a lot of them are blooming right now. I think I have about 3 that have come open already, and the rest are very close to blooming open, and they're just the most gorgeous shade of vibrant purple, and they bring so much joy, and I'm already looking forward to planting more this year. Just wanted to share a quick seedling update with you guys. I think I mentioned a couple videos back that I wasn't sure if this middle area was going to germinate, and weirdly enough they didn't. So I don't know if that's because maybe the table isn't very even and they dried out too much and didn't get enough water, but everything else is doing fairly well. The cosmos are doing well, the nasturtium looks great, and then on the other side here we've got more cosmos. Not all of them came in, but that's okay. And then we've got our tatsoi. Okay, so if you guys watched my last video, you might recall this gilded frame that I've got right here on the desk, and I picked this up last week, or I guess a couple weeks ago now, at an antique store locally to me, and it's just super cute. And I wanted to do a little bit of, I guess I'll call it a mini project because it's going to be pretty fast. So I just wanted to give it a little bit of a refresh and brighten up the kind of deeper gold tone that it has. For the brightening, I'm going to be using this gilding wax by the brand Pebeo. Not entirely sure how to say that. P-E-B-E-O. And it's the color Empire Gold, which is this really bright gold, as you can see, just a couple tones lighter than the current gold shade that's on the frame. Just to show you the consistency, it's like a really satisfying golden putty wax, and it's just gorgeous. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this pretty simple today. I've got a couple of small tools with me. I have this little duster brush right here that I'm just going to dust off any little debris on the frame. And I've got 2 paintbrushes here. These are both from Utrecht. This one is a 1/2-inch brush, and this one just says it's a size 8. Whatever that means. And I've got this little container of water. I don't really know if I'll need this, most likely not, but I always like to have a little thing of water handy during a craft project, mostly because I am prone to making messes. So this will be a fast, easy way to clean up any mess that I make. And then off to the side as well, I just have a roll of Scotch tape, some scissors, and some construction paper, and I'm going to use that to protect the mirror while I paint. And then one last note before I get started, I am balancing this on a little box of pens and such, just to allow me to paint the side of the frame without touching the desk. So the first step is I am just going to take this little duster brush and make sure that there's no dust or little debris on the mirror before I paint it. You could also more ideally use like an alcohol pad to swab or swipe away anything, but I don't have that handy, so this will do. Okay, for the next step, I'm going to take this construction paper and cut it and fit it over the mirror to protect it while we paint. So I'm just going to fold it in half since it is too large to place in the mirror as it is. So we're going to get a straight line to cut across and then overlap some of the papers. You'll see what I mean here in a second. Okay, so now I'm going to place the construction paper just inside the frame, just like this. Just overlapping a couple of pages. All right, there we go. And then I am just gonna take a little bit of tape as well to flatten it down and kind of keep some of these pages together while we paint. All right, so now we've protected the mirror to the best of my ability anyway. I am going to dip into the wax and get started. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up a little bit on my brush, not too much. And I'm going to start with the small details, and then I'm going to use the bigger brush to get the larger areas. You can already see how much brighter that is. And you could, in theory, create a really nice patina just doing kind of like a light layer where you can see some of the original coloring through it, but I am going to completely cover it because that is my personal preference. So that is the inner edge of the first side done. I can see just a little bit of the original color coming through, so if I really wanted to make that opaque, I might do a second coat, but I don't think it's that noticeable, so far I'm fine with it as it is. Just kind of using a swirling motion here to get in some of the little nooks and crannies of this design, as it's quite intricate. To the third side here. Instead of the construction paper, honestly, if you wanted to get a more precise line as close to the mirror as you could with the wax, you could use just regular printer paper. I didn't have any handy, so I went for this thicker paper, but as you can see, it is kind of covering up a little bit of the bottom of this edge, so I don't know how close I'm getting to it. All right, and we're gonna rotate and complete the final inner side here. really sure of all of the different materials that you can use this wax on. The previous mirror that I mentioned was in some sort of metal base, and that worked totally fine. This being wood, I think we're good, but I would check for your project to see if it's a material that it'll adhere to. Okay, so there is all of the 4 inner sides complete, and I'm going to work on the outer area right here. Or I guess it's technically the outer of the inner. You guys know what I mean. Before I move on to the next side, I am just going to take this larger brush and make sure that that inner area that I got a little bit on is smoothed out. Okay. And I love doing this because, as you can see, it is a really fast and simple process, yet it makes such a difference. I have some metal hinges on a pantry cabinet that I ordered that are like a silver color, and I want them to be this color, so that actually might be my next little project. And then we're just going to do the same thing and just make sure it's all smoothed out. Little textured areas where some paint got on, so I'm just going to smooth it out before moving on. Okay, so we are down to the last outer of the inner, I don't know, you guys know what I mean. The last area here that I have to do. Make sure that I'm really covering it up from all angles here to the best of my ability. Quite happy with that. Just gonna go ahead and do the same thing, make sure it's all smooth. Look at what a difference that has already made. It's so much brighter and honestly looks like a totally different new frame. All right, so now we're on to the really fun part. Sure we get the inner area right here. brush over the top lightly just to get rid of any lumps and bumps or clumped paint that I see. And it'll just soften out any visible brush strokes as well. All right, so now all I have left is the very edges of the frame. Just kind of balancing it on my hand right now to move it around. Okay, so that's one edge fully done. So now for the final step, I am going to remove the construction paper and see if I need to touch up the inner edge of the mirror at all before I place it outside to dry. All right, the inner edge looks pretty good to me. There is one spot that you can't really see on camera down here that I got a little bit of the product on. So I am just going to take a fine brush here and try to remove that really quick. It's actually not coming off as easily with the water as I thought that it would. So I guess it dries on the mirror material pretty quickly, but it is coming off. I was able to successfully remove that mark, and now I'm just going to go in with a tiny bit of the wax and just get some of the really close edges of the mirror. If I do get any wax on, I'm just going in with this and a little bit of water and it comes right off as I go. This side really got neglected apparently. Alright, so this is the final edge that we're touching up now. I'm a little bit less worried about getting the wax on the mirror now that I know I can just brush it away with the water here in a second. And there we have it. Here is my finished, brightened up antique mirror.